Walker, were you always destined to play basketball? Because it looks like a tall family that you got here.
Growing up in my family, we all played basketball for sure. So it was kind of in the genes, quite literally, as Dad's wearing some light-colored jeans, looking good, man.
Thank you. Thank you.
Where does he learn this love of basketball with your history with Georgia and playing basketball yourself?
Well, my brother and I played at University of Georgia, and then my brother went on and was drafted with the Miami Heat. My father played at University of Minnesota, so it was always a big part of our life. And then when I had Houston, unfortunate for him that he was my first, and I was like, man, you're playing ball. I pushed and pushed, and he became a very good player. And then when Walker came along much later, he really seemed to enjoy it, and Walker had that early on. He was one of those kids that said, I want to play in the NBA. Everybody's like, yeah, sure, make sure you keep studying. But he just got better and better, and of course he grew and blessed with some physical gifts that got him here.
What were the early games like? I imagine you played, Walker, one-on-one.
Oh yeah.
What were those games like? What were some of the injuries that I'm sure that were
Not
suffered?
fun.
Well, that wasn't limited to just basketball. It was really any game that I could come up with that I could let him think he's going to win to the last second to make sure that doesn't happen.
No, they hit it on the nail. Houston, he used to do this thing where we would play multiple games. So we'd be like, all right, we'd play like a one-on-one football game, throwing to ourselves. Like, okay, I'm like the UTEP Miners. So then the next game, and I'm the Alabama Crimson Tide. So, they were definitely frustrating, but our whole family was competitive. So definitely made me, who I am today. So I don't regret it.
Were there any injuries suffered during these games?
I mean, there was a couple times where, I got shoved in the bushes or something like that, but nothing too serious.
You guys never had any bad injuries, did you?
No, nothing bad.
Only to his pride and ego. That
That
was
was the worst injury of all, yeah, exactly.
From my perspective, it happened so quickly where, you realize, wow, he's going to be really, really good. And I'll never forget, I was playing at Georgia, and afterwards you meet with your family, and I hadn't seen Walker in a while because he was playing too, and he was probably, 15 at the time or something like that. And I walk out and he's taller than me. I was like, holy cow. 15 or 16 years old, he's already taller than me. And that's kind of where I realized, wow, he's growing up. He's not, the same little guy I used to push in the bushes. He's playing football growing up. He's worked his butt off, to get to where he's at, and so we're both super proud of him for sure.
What was it like to see Houston be recruited and then you to go through that same sort of deal?
Yeah, obviously with Houston, my dad being recruited, I had the best advice going into it. Understanding that you only felt that wanted, once in your life, but, to kind of sort through, because a lot of the recruiting process, there's a lot of, kind of fluff. So for them helping me, sort through all that, I can't overstate how much that, means to me.
Why no Georgia?
Why no Georgia?
Why didn't you go to Georgia?
You're asking that with him here?
Yeah, how did that happen?
Be very careful.
So I was Coach Fox, coached my brother at Georgia, and I was a little closer to him. And then when he got the job at Cal, it was kind of already later in the recruiting process, and so I had already developed relationships with all these coaches. So Coach Crean got the job at Georgia, and it was kind of already too late in that factor. Now you're gonna ask them how they felt about it?
Yeah. I am.
It's like the storybook thing that Walker would come in. That would have been great, but I don't think Walker had that vision for himself, and he wanted to kind of make his own way, and where basketball was the main focus. And Georgia's really a football school. They have a good basketball program, but for Walker, I think he had that opportunity to go with one of the blue bloods, and that's what he ended up taking.
I loved playing for Coach Fox. And when he wasn't there anymore, really it was just about what was going to be best for Walker. And again, if Fox was there, I had a relationship with him, and so that's really, I just wanted Walker to go somewhere where he's going to be happy and where he was going to be utilized the right way. And eventually he ended up at Auburn and had a really good experience there.
What led to the decision to transfer to Auburn?
There was this opportunity for a really good team in a great location with a coach that believed in Walker, because Coach Pearl was the first coach to ever offer Walker when he was like in 9th grade.
You want to tell that story?
No, you can tell the story.
So basically, I was actually in 8th grade going into my freshman year, and Coach Pearl, I was at like a basketball camp at Auburn, like a team camp, and Coach Pearl came to my dad and said, "Hey, we love to offer your son." And my dad was like, "Nah, don't offer him yet. He doesn't want to get a big head right now. Let's just wait a little bit." So I didn't know that he was one of the first coaches to offer me.
Yeah, he didn't know till
I
years
found
later.
out
I said,
like 2
"Do
years
not
later."
tell him you're offering him a scholarship." I mean, it's bad enough all the when you get to be a 5-star and you're getting everyone's telling you how great you are. He sure didn't need that at 9th grade.
So I never had a big head in my family.
Yeah,
I don't
no,
know if you can tell.
there's
my
no
family
big
kept
heads.
me grounded.
How do you keep him grounded, Houston?
Shove him in the bushes.
That's not right.
How did it feel playing at that level, being so dominant defensively, setting NCAA records for block percentage, all the blocking? You really handled yourself pretty well at Auburn. What was that experience the entire season leading that team?
I think going into it, funny enough, in the preseason, Coach Pearl called my dad, "Doc, we really think he's going to be defensive liability." And so I heard about that. And so I was kind of like, "All right, Coach, we'll see what happens." But I took that to heart. And on that team, we had so many offensive guys, so understanding that I had to try and make an impact on a different side of the court. So I just took pride in, my paint and try not to let anyone score in it.
He claims that he was all offense, no defense in high school, right? Is that correct?
Well, not all or nothing. But he was a lot more offensive minded. I mean, he was a stretch player. I mean, in AAU all through, as he went into college, that kind of went away. I mean, he wasn't shooting, and I think in a way it really benefited him because it expanded a part of his game that I think if he was still just shooting threes, I don't think he would have developed this defensive mindset. I know he's hopeful that shooting will come back and become part of his game again, and it will. He just needs some time with it.
How'd it feel for him to be drafted by Memphis, traded to Minnesota, traded here to Salt Lake, where you actually played an NCAA tournament game here, if I remember back in the
my
day?
senior year.
Whoa!
Yeah. You didn't know that? I was up there with the running Utes up there.
Man.
I was a bit of a basket case. I mean, just, how it all happened. And he's going to Minnesota, which was a great story because my dad played at Minnesota. I'm from Minnesota, and that lasted like 2 days. And then he's gone again. So it was a little nerve-wracking for me. I'm thinking like, wow, his career is getting off, pretty wobbly. But in the end, I don't think he could be at a better spot. I think he is here at Utah.
The first play against OKC, where the team draws up the three-point play. What was were you excited for that moment? Were you egging it on to happen?
Very excited. At the All-Star weekend, I think I hit like 2 threes or something, and like skills challenge or whatever. And I joked with Coach, like, "Coach, I know you saw that shot." And he was like, "All right, Kessler, first play back, we'll draw a play for you." And I was like, good one, whatever. I didn't think anything of it. And sure enough, we drew up a play like that. I was confident in it, and when I shot it, it felt good, stroke felt good. You know, I kind of knew it was going in. I kind of got that little, like, drop my hands a little bit, started sidestepping. So yeah, you know, it was a good feeling for sure.
Well, they've got something to prove from the beginning. See if they can keep it going. What? What? Come on, let's just see that, bowler. Wow.
What is the experience of watching Walker, and what were your expectations heading into the year for him?
I'm curious about this one. Yeah, about this one.
What I saw told me that, well, he's better than what a lot of people think he is. That being said, his impact and his efficiency, he's matured a lot faster than I expected at this stage, but a lot of that has to do with the confidence the coach has in him, the organization he's with, the personnel. He's had opportunities that on some other teams he may not have had those opportunities. The whole picture has allowed him to achieve, you know, what I think is a lot better than what a lot of people expected a lot earlier.
Obviously super proud of him, and I think at least part of that is, you know, the fit with this organization. This is a great spot for him, and we thought maybe he could have gone a little higher in the draft, but the way that it all worked out, you know, was really perfect. And so I know, you know, he's grateful, and obviously we're grateful to see him, you know, in a good spot, and a spot that allows him to be, you know, really successful, especially this early on.
Going forward, how do you build on what you've already got right here?
Yeah, keeping the focus on improving your game as much as you can, not just be like stagnant. I think a lot of that has to do with just maturing and aging naturally, but a lot of it is understanding that there's so many other aspects of the game you can add and get better at, and then, you know, things you can fine tune as well. And a lot of that has to do with the experience, and then, you know, the hours in the gym. You know, being able to switch on guards. You know, we've been working on it a little more. You know, being able to guard those guys in a half-court scenario, be a defensive menace on the floor, and then obviously, you know, on the offensive side, to develop other aspects of that game as well. I mean, they talk about how I'm competitive, so it's just because of, like, the family that I was, you know, raised in has made me the person I am today. So, you know, thanks to y'all for everything.